All approving somebody like Kanye, right? Because Kanye says, hey, Jewish people have all the power, and then he loses everything.
Well, look, the insidious nature of anti-Semitism and these tropes about power is Kanye can say these things. Jews have all the power, they're controlling everything. And if we don't get him, if we don't deal with that, the myth spreads and it takes root. And if we don't get him, the
ADL, otherwise known as the Anti-Defamation League, is one of the most influential organizations in America that will probably call you anti-Semitic for saying that they have any power or influence, even though they've admitted to working with pretty much every tech company in the world.
We opened a center in Silicon Valley back in 2017. And the woman who runs it, she's an ex-Facebook executive. I have software engineers and data scientists working at ADL. We're monitoring all this stuff, and we're working with all the platforms, by the way, Google and YouTube and Meta and Twitter and Reddit and Steam and Amazon, all these companies. From like Apple to Zoom, we work with all of them, okay?
I'm glad their CEO, Jonathan Greenblatt, did an interview with Charlamagne of The Breakfast Club because I love seeing what he's really about.
I'll tell you something else. I work for President Obama. I spent 3.5 years in the West Wing.
He weighed in on Dave Chappelle.
But what was problematic about what he said are a few things.
Donald Trump.
It is certainly true that Donald Trump has a Jewish son-in-law and a Jewish daughter. He has Jewish grandchildren. Like he does. I mean, he has a closer relationship to the Jewish people than any other president.
And Kyrie Irving.
We announced on Monday we're working with the German government because Holocaust denialism, and that movie is offensive in part.
I have about a dozen clips loaded up, and I'm going to do a reaction video live. And also, the World Jewish Congress President Ronald Lauder calls for Apple and Spotify to remove Kanye's music. Nothing says a group of people doesn't have power besides having their own World Congress. We'll call it the World Individual Congress, which is lobbying to remove one of the biggest music artists in the world from streaming platforms. What in the world Jewish Congress is going on here? We'll talk about it today live. This is my reaction video. I know you're going to enjoy it.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dream Rare Podcast. I'm not going to be able to read your comments today because it took me 2 hours to prepare. I have a bunch of printouts. I have clips that I'm going to respond to and react to. So I have a lot loaded up. And also, I'm doing a debate with an Israeli Jewish rights activist later today, Rudy Rockman or Rudy Israel. We're going to debate at 10 o'clock Pacific time, my time, because he's in Israel. So I'm going to have a whole debate about the limits of free speech, anti-Semitism. I'm excited because, I'm not just going to be talking to myself and there'll be a discussion or debate about it. So that's what it is. Yesterday rather, Charlamagne from Breakfast Club had the ADL CEO on. His name is Jonathan Greenblatt, and he is the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. And this is important because they're one of the most influential groups in America. They are a Jewish organization that I believe has a left-wing skew, but they say they don't, which basically pressures everybody to silence opposition of what they would consider hate speech. And because he did an interview in the public that lasted an hour, I got all of my favorite clips from it to show people really what's going on behind the scenes, because every single tech company, most media companies, they're constantly lobbying to basically silence what they would consider hate speech. Here's the most memorable clip, and then we're going to get into a lot more. He said that they need to get Kanye or basically silence him, or else people will believe that they have power or something.
All approving somebody like Kanye, right? Because Kanye says, hey, Jewish people have all the power, and then he loses everything.
Well, look, the insidious nature of anti-Semitism and these tropes about power is Kanye can say these things. Jews have all the power, they're controlling everything. And if we don't get him, if we don't deal with that, the myth spreads and it takes root.
If we don't get him and deal with that, if we don't use our power to basically shut him up, then people will think we have the power to shut him up. I mean, this guy's not doing himself any favors. Also, I just found out, I had it in the intro, but I wanted to bring it up. The World Jewish Congress is calling for Kanye to have all his music taken off of Spotify and Apple. And I know a lot of stuff. I had no idea there was a World Jewish Congress. What says you don't have power more than having your own Congress? And the World Jewish Congress, according to Wikipedia, was founded in Geneva, Switzerland in August of 1938 as an international federation of Jewish communities and organizations. According to its mission statement, the World Jewish Congress' main purpose is to act as the diplomatic arm of the Jewish people. It was founded in Switzerland in 1936, but guess where it's headquartered? Oh, what do you know? In the United States, in New York City. So an international diplomatic arm of the Jewish people. What's weird is, according to, as I've been pointing out to people, the State Department defining anti-Semitism, one of the laws says that you're not allowed to accuse Jewish citizens of being more loyal to Israel or the priority of Jews worldwide. And that's something that Ben Sneak-Piro also says. He's tweeted out that exact speech. So he says, it's anti-Semitism to suggest that there are Jews that care about Israel and Jewish people more than America. That's anti-Semitism. And they're passing these laws through Congress, through executive order, to try to make it a hate crime in America. Oh, but you're a bad person if you recognize that they're doing that. So what would you call the World Jewish Congress then, that is based out of New York, that doesn't claim to help America or care about America more than its ethnicity or religion? It claims to care more about its people than it does the country that it's operating out of. Oh, but you're not allowed to talk about it, according to Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager. And isn't it just fantastic and interesting? Well, let's keep moving on as the Anti-Defamation League brags about working with the German government to try to strong-arm Amazon to take off the documentary because it's illegal to question World War II in Germany. It's literally can end you up in prison. We'll talk about it. Let's watch more clips.
Now, with the Kyrie Irving situation, right? You know, Kyrie Irving got suspended. There was 5 things he had to do before he was playing basketball again. But I also ask about, like, Amazon for having that film on there. You know, I don't feel like Amazon got much of that fire.
So I'm going to tell you, we are working on that.
It's a great question by DJ Envy. He said, why did Kyrie Irving get in so much trouble, but Amazon didn't get in trouble when it was their documentary? Listen to the CEO of the Anti-Defamation League's response. It's very telling.
Because you're pointing something out, DJ Envy, that's incredibly important. It's not just about what the people say, it's what the platform does. Mm-hmm. It's not just what Chappelle says, it's what SNL does or NBC does. Mm-hmm. It's not just about what Kyrie tweets, it's about Amazon hosting it. Mm-hmm. So, look, we've launched a whole campaign against Amazon. We announced on Monday we're working with the German government because Holocaust denialism, and that movie is offensive in part because it says that white Jews invented the Holocaust, that it didn't really happen. That's not true. Mm-hmm. Let's just put that out there. I don't think I really should even need to. But Holocaust denialism is illegal in Germany.
It's illegal to question World War II in any form in Germany. You can end up in prison. You could actually look it up. There's a Jewish woman who was alive then who has her recollection of it, who's rotting in prison right now in her 80s because Germany doesn't allow even Jewish women to question the narrative of World War II. So this is the American organization, the Anti-Defamation League, that works worldwide. They're bragging about trying to get Amazon in trouble for hosting a documentary because it's illegal in Germany. And what I've been trying to explain to people, I printed it out today, defining anti-Semitism on the State Department website. People like the Anti-Defamation League and other groups, they're bragging here. I have it right here. They're bragging at the bottom. Hopefully you could see it. I hope it comes up. It says criminal acts are anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic acts are criminal. And they're bragging about how it's illegal in Germany. It's illegal in certain states. And they're trying desperately to make speech illegal in America. So they've already done it in multiple countries. They've already pushed it through. Trump and DeSantis are pushing these laws through. We'll get into it later. But do you get why it's problematic? I don't have any hate in my heart for anybody, Christian, Muslim, Jew, black, white, Asian. I don't have hate in my heart. But you have Ben Shapiro, who is the biggest con artist in the country, saying it's anti-Semitism to suggest any Jew in America has dual loyalty. I could have printed it out, but he keeps saying this. He said it on his Twitter before. It's anti-Semitic to say any Jewish person in America might have loyalty to Jews more than they have loyalty to America. You can't say that, right? They're passing speech laws in the United States of America that say now it's a hate speech offense to say that there are Jewish people in America that care about their people and their country more than America. And you have literally entire organizations called the World Jewish Congress that operate out of New York City that brag that their mission statement is to act as a diplomatic arm of the Jewish people. Their purpose is not to serve America. Their purpose is not to be equal. Their purpose is to serve their people. That's fine. But you can't even talk about it. As they have power, they don't have power. It doesn't exist. There are no groups that lobby for their rights, but there are. But you can't. But Ben Shapiro is controlled opposition. Okay, he's not working for this country, and he'll cry like a little baby, the little baby fraud weasel snake that he is, and say, "Oh my gosh, that's so hateful. Oh my gosh, dude, you are the biggest snake. I'm so tired of these deceivers destroying the Constitution, selling out their people, and gatekeeping the conservative movement, and then saying, oh my gosh, so don't even call me out on it." Well, I am calling you out, and I'm calling out Lex Friedman and all of these snakes, because this is what's going on in this country. They cry hate speech. They say it's just individuals. There are literally groups that are working out of the United States that care about Jewish interests over anything else, which would be fine if they weren't passing speech laws that make it illegal in the United States of America in schools and on college campus to say those exact words. Because on the State Department website, the exact thing that they're doing and the exact things that are happening, they are defining the word anti-Semitism to say that it's now illegal to even say that they're doing it. And here's the ADL leader bragging about it gleefully, how he's going after Amazon and trying to make it illegal.
That movie is available on Amazon Germany. So we are now working with the German government because Amazon is breaking the law. I also had, we worked with members of Congress, had about 36 members of Congress write a letter to CEO Andy Jassy and to the chairman Jeff Bezos. We're also worked with all these different groups in the Jewish community to write a letter. We've sent tens of thousands of emails. So I'm not going to let up on Amazon. Not at all. And I was at a conference last week where Andy Jassy, CEO, said, you know what, it's a slippery slope if we take this down. I don't think so. Or at a minimum.
So you have Amazon saying, listen, it's a very slippery slope to censor. We can't just take down documentaries because if we take down one, we're going to have to take down a lot. And you have the individual, we'll call him an individual, CEO of an organization that is, was created to defend individuals, the group that doesn't exist, that doesn't have power. And he's saying, yeah, we're not just going after Kyrie Irving. We're trying to go after Amazon. There is no slippery slope. We want them to take it down. And the way that they're trying to get them to take it down is by using the fact that it's illegal in Germany. It's against the law to question World War II. And they're passing, not the ADL, but other groups are passing hate speech laws in America. And this is why I'm going at Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles, these do-nothings. They're like, oh, there's two genders. Har, 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 har. They're big clowns. They're big controlled opposition. They just dance like little clowns. And then they gatekeep the fact that Republicans are being lobbied by massive donors and interests to sell out our Constitution to basically make it illegal to call out Jewish organizations. It's now considered a hate speech offense on a college campus. You might not be able to speak on a college campus if you criticize Israel or know that the World Jewish Congress exists or say that the ADLs take away our speech. These are now known as like a hate speech offense because you're not allowed to talk like that. These groups don't exist anymore. And it's a bipartisan operation that's going on. I'm going to play more clips, but this stuff really annoys me. And I don't care anymore. It's scorched earth season. I'm going to tell the truth about all of these conservative influencers, okay? It's been 3 or 4 years now that they just sell MAGA merch and lie to people and say it's anti-Semitic. No, the truth is the truth. And they are trying to take away our Constitution. They've successfully done it. Republicans are in on it. And the second you call it out, they cry hate speech and say that you're not allowed to say that they're doing it. And once they could take away that speech, they could take away other speech. It's already happening. And I got a lot more clips to play. So let's listen to more of the anti-defamation leader, Jonathan Greenblatt, talk about more of what he's doing and what he thinks.
I only got a few more questions. Where does the stereotype that Jewish people control media, where does that come from?
It comes from these old tropes about Jews in power. I could show you white supremacist literature that's like 10, 20, 30, 40 years older from today that says Jews control the media. Now, are there some Jewish media executives? Sure there are. Do Jews control the media? Not as far as I know. If they did, I think I'd get much better coverage, you know?
So these tropes, these ideas, they come from white supremacist literature. That's where the trope that Jewish people run media comes from. Except it also came from Nick Kroll, Jewish comedian, who literally admitted it on stage and laughed about it.
We got a lot of Jews on stage here tonight. You know, people say that Jews control the media, and we do. And you know why? Because we're really good at it.
I mean, it's funny, but apparently he could say it, but you can't say it. It also comes from Jewish writer in the LA Times. I'm going to read this whole article for historical purposes, Jonathan Greenblatt. It doesn't just come from white supremacist ideology 40 years ago. This is Jewish writer Joel Stein, who wrote in the LA Times, this is an actual article, Who Runs Hollywood, Come On, in December 19th, 2008. Let's read the article. Joel Stein, Jewish writer, LA Times, Who Runs Hollywood. He said, I've never been so upset by a poll in my life. Only 22% of Americans now believe the movie and television industries are pretty much run by Jews, down from nearly 50% in 1964. The Anti-Defamation League, which released the poll result last month, see these numbers as a victory against stereotyping. Actually, it just shows how dumb Americans have gotten. Jews totally run Hollywood, says Joel Stein. I'm going to keep going with the article. I guess I misplaced. I put the one in front of the other. This is not the right one. I got to get the other one. Excuse me. He says, how deeply Jewish is Hollywood, writes Joel Stein? Well, when the studio chiefs took out a full-page ad in the Los Angeles Times a few weeks ago, demand that the Screen Actors Guild settle its contract, the open letter was signed by News Corp President Peter Chernin, Jewish, Paramount Pictures Chairman Brad Gray, Jewish, Walt Disney. Keep in mind, I'm not making this up, guys. This is like a literal LA Times article written by a Jewish guy. Paramount Pictures Chairman Brad Gray, Walt Disney co-chief Robert Iger, Jewish, Sony Pictures Chairman Michael Linton, Dutch Jew, Warner Brothers Chair Barry Meyer. You get it. I could go down the list, but he names like literally. I don't want to do it because then they're going to take it out of clips and cry about it. But literally, he just names everybody involved in it, and he said, if either of the Weinstein brothers had signed, this group would not only have had power to shut down all film production before a mini. He makes jokes about it, but then he says, the Jews are so dominant, I had to scour the trades to come up with 6 Gentiles in high positions at entertainment companies. So basically, he just goes through and says, you know, that is true. There are a lot of Jewish people in Hollywood that run it. But according to Jonathan Greenblatt, you know, he needs to silence Kanye because the only way he can, you know, stop people from thinking that his group has power is for his group to have power and silence Kanye about it, even though Jewish comedians and writers brag about it all the time openly in news and on Comedy Central. But you're not allowed to notice or talk about it while they're passing speech laws in this country, while he's bragging about speech being illegal in Germany, while he's trying to strong arm American companies, while Ben Shapiro's in on it and crying anti-Semitism when you say there's a single Jewish person in America who cares about their people more than the country, while Trump and DeSantis and the Republican Party and the State Department are pushing through speech laws that say that what I just said is basically illegal. Our country is being scammed, folks, and Michael Knowles, controlled opposition, little shill idiot, is not going to have, oh, tee-hee-hee-hee-hee, there's 2 genders, ha-ha-ha, look at me. Don't notice the fact that we're selling the country out. Don't notice the fact that there's literally entire organizations run out of this country that aren't to serve our interests. Don't worry that our politicians are working for them. Don't worry that 4 years of Donald Trump ended in vaccine sales. Don't worry that we printed $6 trillion. It's just the Democrats, even though it's not. And I'm not blaming a group. I'm just saying I'm tired of the hypocrisy, and I'm not going to live as a slave in this country to another group of people. If that's the way America is, and America is so cucked and pathetic that nobody realizes what's going on, let me know, and then I'll find another country to go to that actually cares about their constitution and their sovereignty, unlike the controlled opposition red elephants who work for a foreign country and just cry hate speech whenever anybody points out what's really going on here. So, you know, let me know if America still has an ounce of respect for itself, or we're just a fat, pilled out, controlled country that's fine with communism, because it'll be worth knowing. Here's him talking about Trump, and then he also talks about Chappelle, a few other things. I'm going to go through and then we'll react to those clips.
It is certainly true that Donald Trump has a Jewish son-in-law and a Jewish daughter. He has Jewish grandchildren. Like, he does. I mean, he has a closer relationship to the Jewish people than any other president in the history of the United States of America. Mm-hmm. By the way, the Abraham Accords, bringing together Israel and the UAE and Bahrain, that was a great thing, not just for Israel, but for the whole region. And, he called out anti-Semitism on college campuses. That hadn't happened before. Those are good things. Mm-hmm. And yet,
he's happy about Trump calling out anti-Semitism on college campuses. Trump didn't call out anti-Semitism on college campuses. Trump passed an unconstitutional executive order that essentially made it illegal to criticize Israel on a college campus, illegal to speak the truth on a college campus, illegal to boycott or protest a foreign country on a college campus. Trump didn't call out anti-Semitism. He passed an executive order that goes against the First Amendment of the Constitution for his donors. So Ben Shapiro can sit around and say it's anti-Semitism to suggest why Trump might have done that. And these peace accords from Israel to Bahrain, that's peace. Do you know how fast they turned into vaccine passports? Israel and Bahrain have reached the world's first bilateral agreement for mutual recognition of COVID-19 vaccine passports for quarantine-free travel between the two countries. The negotiation, which led to his historic agreement, includes talk between the foreign ministers. Do people realize that the peace deal turned into a vaccine passport deal in under a year? Is that a coincidence? Maybe. I don't think so. And I'm not going to be repetitive, but I have the list of all the hate speech violations that you're not allowed to say now on a college campus if you're a protester or boycotter or perhaps a public speaker, because Trump passed them. Trump. But this guy's happy with him. Of course he is. But also he hates him. We get it. Why? So why do you hate Donald Trump if he's passed speech laws in America for your group against our Constitution and best interest? What makes you so mad at Trump?
And yet, he brought white supremacists into the White House. He trafficked in the kind of divisive language that not only alienated and terrified Jews, but lots of other minorities, from the Muslim ban to what he said about Latinos, what he said about black people. Mm-hmm. He, from Charlottesville, when he said they were fine people on both sides, to telling the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, to telling these individuals who rampaged through the Capitol on January the 6th wearing Camp Auschwitz sweatshirts. Like, some of them had shirts that said 6WME. 6 million wasn't enough. Mm. And he told them afterwards that he loved them.
I mean, count the amount of lies and exaggerations that guy just did. Well, thank goodness there's speech laws to make it illegal to ever say people like him are exaggerating, because that's what our country needs. Speech laws that say it's illegal to say he's exaggerating, because he would never do that. But in general, even though Trump did so much for his agenda, he still hates Trump, because just like he thinks everybody hates Jewish people all the time, I see in Jonathan Greenblatt a lot of anti-white hatred. I think he hates Europeans. I listened to the entire speech. Everything's about black and Jewish and we need to get along, and the Asians. Everything's about every race except for generic European white people. All of a sudden he has no compassion, no love, no activism, no anything. So he's basically trying to be like a minority wrangler of like, hey, let's all get together and fight fight these guys, the radical right and the white. Like, that's the whole vibe I got from the whole interview. Not once did he ever say anything remotely. Like, I could say, God bless the people of Israel. There's good people of all kinds. There's good Jewish people. There's good Muslims. There's good Christians. There's good white people. There's good black people. I don't ever hear him say that. Everything's about, let me wrangle all the minorities together so we can fight this radical right agenda and white this, white that. All he does is badmouth white the entire time. He says nothing nice about anybody white. He doesn't give a crap about anybody. But then it's okay because, at least Trump did some stuff for him, but bad Trump because he's not completely subservient to the agenda. It's like, I'm so tired of these type of people. God bless you, my brother, but the jig is up, man. Everybody realizes what you're doing. You can't silence the most famous music artist on the planet to prove that you have no power. Use your power to try to hurt them, or hurt their career, and then just say you don't have power. Yeah, it's like, I can't stop Kanye's career because I don't have the power, but you have the option to do that. You do say you do that. You help with your friends, the lobby, and then you say, Well, that proves that we don't have any influence because we influence people to make sure that they never hear. Like, does this guy hear himself? It's absolutely insane. Let's listen to what he says about Dave Chappelle, because he was really upset with, a lot of his jokes. And I'm excited to have, because I'm speaking here by myself, I'm going to have somebody from Israel, a Jewish activist who doesn't believe in free speech. They think that comedy is anti-Semitic and shouldn't be said. They think that, Chappelle went too far. I'm going to have a discussion and a debate later. I'm pumped because I'm educated with the truth. I'm educated with the Constitution. And also, I've done a lot of research on this. I'm excited to have a little bit of pushback because it's easy to talk to myself. It's going to be a lot more challenging for both sides of this when somebody across from the webcam disagrees with what I'm saying. So he seems like a nice guy. And, I'm going to defend the American Constitution and what I believe will lower the hate, which is self-awareness, self-accountability. The fact that these groups can organize on behalf of their people, do all of these things, which I would consider immoral and wicked and against the Constitution. And then if you point to them doing that, they say you're an anti-Semite. It only raises, unfortunately, the division and the tensions among the racial group when you have so much power, but you have no accountability. And they shield and use history as a excuse to never take accountability for anything that they ever do. They have thousands of groups that are for their race, their ethnicity, their causes, their people. They constantly bash other races that they don't consider a minority, and that's fine. But the second you notice that they're doing it, all of a sudden the whole world comes down because God forbid they have a self of accountability or awareness or admit what they're doing. It's everyone else's fault but their own. The jig is up. The matrix has been shattered. Everybody realizes it. The Knowles and Shapiros and Prager's and all of these people who have been controlled opposition and just gatekeeping. Prager wrote an op-ed the other day about how you can't get into heaven if you question World War II. Sorry, Dennis, you can do your little satanic inverted thing to a bunch of, naive Christians who some reason believe you and see you as a leader. That's not what the religion says. I'm not going to say you can only be Jewish if you do this. I'm not Jewish, so you can figure out what your religion means to you. But just because you feel a certain way about history and your event can't be questioned, that doesn't mean that that's how Jesus Christ felt and that's how you get into heaven is by doing what Dennis Prager said. Don't do what Dennis Prager said and you probably have a good chance to get into heaven. Heaven is not whether you offend Dennis Prager on your historical, conspiracy theories. That's not the I would say qualification to get into heaven. And the fact that Prager's writing op-eds telling you that is a qualification to get into heaven just shows what a demon that guy is, what a controlled opposition shill demon he is. Like, oh, Christians, don't read the Bible, read my article. I mean, you can't get into heaven if you question this event. That's not what it says in the Bible, bro. And if you're trying to rewrite the Bible to serve your group and your interests and your religion, you're a demon, dude. I'm so tired of these people. Let's watch another clip of him talking about Chappelle. We got 4 of these and a lot more, so let's see.
But what was problematic about what he said are a few things. So number one, keep in mind, as you probably know, because it's been reported, he did a different monologue in the rehearsal. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah, I heard that. I read that.
I
didn't know that.
He didn't do that. So right there, that's a little bit of a tell because that's not what you are supposed to do. That's not why Lorne Michaels does the rehearsal. You're supposed to test it out. Mm-hmm. And I think he knew that it was going to be too hot or too controversial, and they might tell him not to do it. So right there, number one. Number two.
So he said he thinks Dave Chappelle's funny, but the reason that he crossed the line with his comedy is it's telling that he didn't use the script that he used live in the rehearsals because Lorne Michaels would have shut it down. I wonder what ethnic group Lorne Michaels is a part of. I don't know. He must just be an individual, but so Chappelle didn't show him his comedy because he knew that Lorne Michaels would shut down his comedy. Does this guy think that doesn't prove that his group doesn't have power when the whole reason Chappelle in the first place didn't show him the epic monologue is because even Jonathan admits that it would have got shut down? So even one of the most popular, if not the most popular comedian in the world isn't even free to tell jokes that he wants to tell. I don't think it made the point that he thought it did, but whatever.
Look, he literally said the problem wasn't what Kanye said. It's that he said it out loud. That's what he said. Mm-hmm. And on the heels of the stuff that Kanye was doing, and on the heels of all the kind of animus around the Kyrie thing, when he said that, sometimes you don't know in comedy whether it's going to be whether it's a punch or a punch line.
Mm-hmm.
This just felt like a punch. He did that thing where he pulled out the piece of paper and read it at the beginning. You all saw the monologue.
The apology, yeah. He denounces anti-Semitism. Yeah.
I denounce, and he said it in a flat, in a flat monotone. And he said, that's how you buy yourself some time. So that was kind of funny, but it wasn't when, again, it felt less like a punchline and more like a punch.
It was funny, but it just wasn't funny because it hurt my feelings, because he told the truth that nobody's supposed to say out loud because everybody's afraid of losing their deals in Hollywood. Everybody knows in Hollywood and music and entertainment industry that there's a few things you don't question. You don't question the rainbow flag. I mean, it's tough to question black activism because there's a anonymous group behind it, liberal, we'll say, that controls black activism in the media. So you look racist if you go against it. And the number one thing that every athlete, every celebrity, every musician, whether Jonathan Greenblatt wants to admit it or not, the number one thing that everybody knows that you can't question is Jewish people, because Jewish people don't allegedly have any power to stop you from doing it, even though Jonathan Greenblatt admits that he wants to stop everybody from doing it. And there's thousands of organizations that work around the clock to do that, including his Anti-Defamation League. But, I guess that's the way you prove that there is no power, by using your power to just shut everybody up, shut down comedy, shut down free speech, shut down musicians, and everybody in Hollywood just working scared. Everybody knows it. They just want the money, dude. Everybody knows it, okay? The cat's out of the bag. Everyone knows it. They've known it for like 100 years now. It's just the people that want the money just shut their mouth and get it. It's like being in the NBA. If you have a political opinion that's, the master comes and get back in line and go play sports. And then everybody just shuts up because they're like, well, I'm making $100 million. It's not a bad gig. I get to play sports and play $100 million. But they all know that they can't question the narrative, and there's certain things they can't question. It's not that no one knows this stuff, Jonathan. It's just everybody's afraid of groups like yours and getting pressured and emailed and shut down, working with the German government. So, I mean, you could act like it's the most shocking thing that Dave Chappelle said. He's just saying out loud what everybody knows and is afraid to say. That's why that stand-up special has probably tens of millions of views now, because it's like hilarious and, I guess nice to see somebody actually just say it.
So by saying the problem wasn't what Kanye said, just that he said it out loud, that hit home. Again, the fact that there are some Jewish people who are Hollywood executives doesn't mean the Jews run Hollywood. And this myth of power has led to deep problems for Jews. But there was something else that he said that also really, I thought about our conversations, that really hit me. When he basically said, look, Jewish people have suffered. And he acknowledged that towards the end. But he said, don't blame black people for your trauma. He said it kind of like that. I'm paraphrasing. Like, no one was doing that.
I guess he's upset at Dave Chappelle saying, don't use black people's trauma for your pain. Well, with Chappelle and this guy and maybe Charlamagne, I don't know. There's conflicting victim cards right there where I think like the Chappelle, he wants his pain to matter. Charlamagne wants his pain to matter. But what they're both realizing is there's a certain pain in a certain group that matters more than them. So you're only allowed to care about your pain and your people and your activism and your political causes if it aligns with their causes, but they don't control you or anything. You just need to think like them and feel like them and have the same politics as them and have the same racial agenda as them. And if you don't, you get put in a Nick Cannon timeout. You have to talk to a rabbi. You have to take a Whoopi Goldberg timeout. You get Yade, you get Kyrie Irving. But that just shows you that there is no sort of power. It's just like, so there's this conflict now between black liberal celebrities and, like, oh, well, I thought we were doing this. And it's like, well, you can do that as long as they approve of it. The second that they don't approve of your activism, you get cut, which means it's not really your activism. It's not like it's like you're kind of just like a puppet, like a Charlamagne. You're allowed to, you can do that, but just don't, talk about white power. Don't talk about Jewish power. Jewish power is a conspiracy theory and anti-Semitism, but white power we need to destroy. We need to take everything from white people, all their stuff. They can't have power. It's evil. They're supremacists. But us, you notice that we have even more power than that? Oh, what? No. Are people waking up yet? Couldn't be more obvious.
I've gone after Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, plenty of other people on the right who are white. I've gone after plenty of people on the left who are white. I've gone after, I shouldn't say gone after even, but called out people like Candace Owens and people like Kanye and people like, and others. I mean, to say that we're blaming black people for the trauma really, really hurt, because I think it was really, really wrong.
Yeah, I think sometimes people feel like in regards to anti-Semitism, black people get labeled but then suffer more consequences for it than other groups. You know what I mean? Nothing seems to happen to Donald Trump. Nothing seems to happen to Tucker Carlson.
You know, Jonathan Greenblatt wants you to know he doesn't just go after black people. He goes after Tucker Carlson. He mentioned Candace Owens, who is also black, but I guess he doesn't consider her black because she's conservative or something. But he's like, I can't believe black people think that I only go after them. I mean, we go after did I say go after? I didn't mean that. We don't go after people.
But other black people that get labeled anti-Semitic, they lose things.
Lose everything. Mm-hmm.
I hear you. I mean, I think about Myers Leonard last year, or 2 years ago. Myers Leonard, you know, he was a forward for the Heat who was caught. He was streaming on Steam, playing like, I can't remember what game he was playing, and he used a real pretty offensive term toward Jews.
Shooting game, I believe.
Which, yeah,
I think it was a shooting. One of those shooting games.
I think it was like, Call of Duty or something.
I think it was, yeah.
And we called him out. The Heat dropped him. He hasn't been picked up by another team, right? So he pretty much got canceled. By the way, we've worked with Myers over the years. We worked with him right away after that.
He's like, oh, don't worry. We ruined this white guy's life too. I mean, we completely ruined his life. And then he's like, oh, but we worked with him. And, you know, I listened to the full interview. He's like, we rehabbed him. You know, we brain, but nobody wants to take him back. It's like, wow, oh, that's so nice of you that you also ruined a white guy's life, not just black people's lives. That's so, thank you, man. Thank you so much. What's your method?
I think you can offend people even if you don't intend to, but that's why you got to counsel, not cancel. That's why you got to bring people in rather than push them away. So,
got to counsel, not cancel. You know, brainwash people and make them agree with you. And if they don't agree with you, we'll ruin your life. We're not canceling people. We're just giving them the ultimatum. If they don't agree with us, listen to us, bow down to us, go to courses with us, go to museums with us, and completely be subservient to us, then they'll get canceled. So it's not cancel culture. It's we will control you and run your whole life and make you bow down to the power that we don't have, or else then you're gone. But that's not cancel culture. That's just counsel culture. Counsel culture.
You know, I'll tell you something else. I work for President Obama. I spent 3.5 years in the West Wing, and I feel blessed to have worked for President Obama. And a lot of people, to your question about the tablet article, they just write me off. They say I'm some Democratic operative because I worked for President Obama. I mean, entirely untrue, whatever. But I didn't agree with everything President Obama did. And I didn't agree with the Iran deal that he was doing. And I called that out after I left the White House. And I lost friends in the Obama White House who said, why aren't you being loyal to us? You know, and I lost friends because I called Donald Trump. They said, why aren't you being loyal to the Jewish people? I mean, my job is not to be loyal to this president or that president. My job is to protect the Jewish people. It's to fight anti-Semitism, racism, and hate of all kinds.